Have you ever stopped to notice the unspoken stories written in a woman's body language? There's something in the air, something subtle yet unmistakable, that we often overlook. These aren't just small clues, they're quiet signals that reveal what's happening beneath the surface. Imagine this. Have you ever wondered how to tell if a woman hasn't experienced intimacy for a while? It's not about prying or judging. It's about understanding her, connecting with her unspoken emotions, and approaching her with thoughtfulness and respect. Today, I'm going to share with you 7 telltale signs that a woman hasn't been with a man for a long time. These aren't random guesses or stereotypes. They're rooted in human psychology and behavior. Learning to read these signs can transform how you interact with the women in your life. Not to manipulate, but to empathize and connect in ways that feel genuine and meaningful. Hi, I'm Celia, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification, because what you're about to discover may surprise you. It's not just about recognizing the signs. It's about equipping yourself with tools to build deeper emotional and personal connections. Ready? Let's dive in. Let's start with something we all know deep down. The body doesn't lie. A woman's body language often reveals what her words cannot. When a woman hasn't had intimate contact for a while, her body unconsciously begins to express the energy she's holding inside. And no, this isn't about anything overt or intentional. It's about subtle shifts, small gestures that give you a glimpse into her emotions. Take, for example, my friend's story. A few years ago, he mentioned how a coworker started acting differently around him. At first, he didn't think much of it, but then he noticed the way she leaned closer during conversations, the way her gaze lingered just a moment longer than usual, and how she'd absent-mindedly play with her hair when she was near him. It wasn't outright flirting. It was subtler, almost as if her energy was escaping in small, unintentional ways. This is what happens when someone has been suppressing their desires for a long time. The body begins to release that tension in little, almost imperceptible ways. For instance, you might notice her biting her lip, lightly touching her neck, or even brushing her fingers through her hair. These actions, backed by research, are often unconscious signs of pent-up energy seeking an outlet. The fascinating part? Most women aren't even aware they're doing it. But here's the catch. You have to be paying attention. These gestures are easy to miss if you're too distracted or quick to jump to conclusions. A woman's body language is like a whisper, soft and subtle, but it speaks volumes if you know how to listen. For example, if she leans toward you in a conversation or maintains a soft touch on your arm a little longer than usual, it could be her body's way of saying what her words won't. Now, before you assume too much, remember this. Context matters. A smile or a touch doesn't automatically mean she's interested. It's about the consistency of these signs, how they fit within the flow of your interaction, and the energy she's giving off. Think of it as reading a book. You don't judge the story by one sentence alone. You look at the whole picture. Let's take this one step further. What about her humor? Humor can be incredibly revealing. When a woman hasn't been intimate for a while, you may notice a shift in the way she jokes. She might begin to test the waters with playful, sly comments, perhaps even double-edged jokes that invite you to react. These moments aren't random. They're her way of exploring connection, gauging your interest, and seeing if you're picking up on her energy. For example, she might say something like, "Wow, you're spending a lot of time at the gym these days. Planning on breaking hearts?" Or tease you in a way that feels more personal than usual. It's lighthearted, but beneath it is an undertone of curiosity and interest. Pay attention to these moments. They're often windows into her thoughts and feelings. Ultimately, what all of this boils down to is awareness. Awareness of her body language, her energy, her tone, and even the way she interacts with you. It's not about overanalyzing or assuming. It's about being present and observant. A woman who hasn't been intimate for a while may not say it outright, but her actions will often speak louder than words. So, the next time you're talking to a woman, notice the little things. Does she lean closer when she doesn't have to? Does her laughter seem a little more playful? Her eye contact a little longer? Her touch a little softer? These aren't just random actions. They're clues, fragments of her story that she's inviting you to piece together. Remember, this isn't about using what you observe to manipulate or push boundaries. It's about understanding her needs and emotions and responding with kindness and respect. Every interaction is an opportunity to connect on a deeper level, and by paying attention to the unspoken, you can make those connections meaningful and authentic. Now that you know what to look for, you'll never see these moments the same way again. Keep watching, because in the next part of this video, I'll reveal the other 6 signs, and trust me, some of them will blow your mind. Picture this. It's a normal afternoon and you're hanging out with a group of friends. The mood is light, the conversation casual, and then she says something. On the surface, it seems like a harmless joke, but this time it feels different. There's a subtle undertone to her words, something more personal, more revealing. Imagine her saying, "It's been so long since anything exciting has happened in my life," followed by a light laugh, her eyes lingering on you just a moment longer than usual. That laugh may seem innocent, but make no mistake. This humor, laced with meaning, is not a coincidence. Not long ago, a friend of mine shared a story about his neighbor. For months, their conversations were casual and friendly. Just small talk, exchanged in passing. Then, one day, things began to shift. Her comments became bolder, her jokes carried a playful edge, and her laughter seemed more intentional. At first, he thought it was just idle chatter, but as time went on, he noticed that her words weren't random. They carried a hidden weight. The tension that had quietly simmered between them for months was finally bubbling to the surface, and her humor was the spark igniting it. This is where the psychology of humor comes into play. Humor isn't just entertainment. It's a tool, a powerful way to connect, express, and explore emotions. When a woman starts to use humor with a double meaning, she's testing the waters. She's seeing how you respond, but she's not going to be overt about it. Women understand the delicate line between playful suggestion and discomfort. Her subtle provocations aren't accidental. They're calculated. Through humor, she creates a safe space where she can gauge your interest without exposing herself to rejection. And it's not just what she says, it's how she says it. Maybe she makes a comment about how long it's been since she's done something adventurous. Or she playfully teases you with a sly, suggestive remark. These aren't just passing jokes, they're invitations. Invitations to notice her, to engage with her, and to explore the unspoken emotions layered within her words. If you pick up on these cues and respond with playful banter of your own, you might notice the atmosphere between you shift. Her laugh will become more genuine. Her eyes will sparkle with recognition, and suddenly, you'll realize there's much more beneath the surface. I remember talking to my friend Mara, who once told me, "Humor is my secret weapon. When I joke about intimate topics, it's never random. I want to see how he reacts, if he's willing to play along. It's my way of bridging the gap without being too vulnerable." Mara's confession highlights something crucial. Playful, provocative humor isn't just for laughs. It's a window into her emotional world. It's her way of reaching out, testing the connection, and expressing a longing that words alone can't convey. So, when a woman starts joking about things she's never brought up before, pay attention. Beneath the surface, she's telling you a story about what she's feeling. And often, that story speaks of a need for connection that hasn't been fulfilled in a while. Now, let's talk about something even more primal: the need for physical affection. Physical touch is one of the most profound ways to communicate emotions that words can't express. When a woman hasn't experienced intimacy in a while, her desire for physical closeness often starts to show in small, subtle ways. It's not about grand gestures like passionate hugs or overt advances. Instead, it's in the little things, the fleeting touches, the moments of closeness that linger just a second longer than they used to. Take Laura, for example. She was a co-worker of an old friend of mine. He told me how their interactions began to change over time. What used to be casual hellos turned into warm hugs that lasted just a bit longer than expected. A simple conversation would be punctuated by her lightly touching his arm or shoulder as she laughed. At first, he didn't think much of it, but these small gestures became more frequent, and they carried a warmth and intention he couldn't ignore. They weren't intrusive, but they spoke volumes of a longing for closeness, a desire for connection, and a silent call for affection that she wasn't expressing with words. This is something many people miss. These subtle touches may seem insignificant at first glance, but they're not. When a woman hasn't had close physical contact for a while, her body begins to seek out that connection in instinctive, almost unconscious ways. A brush of the hand, a gentle squeeze on the shoulder, or even just standing a little closer to you than usual. These are all signs that her body is reaching out, trying to remember what it feels like to share warmth with another person. Scientific studies back this up. Research shows that when people go without physical affection, they develop a stronger, almost primal need for touch. This isn't something planned or calculated. It's the body's natural reaction to a lack of intimacy. What's fascinating is that women often don't even realize they're doing it. They're not consciously deciding to touch your arm or linger by your side. It's their instincts taking over, searching for the comfort and connection they've been missing. So, when you notice these signs, don't dismiss them as random or meaningless. A touch on your arm, a hug that feels a little warmer, a laugh that carries a hint of something deeper. These are her ways of telling you, without words, that she's yearning for connection. She's not asking for anything explicit or demanding. She's simply expressing a need for closeness, a desire to feel human warmth again. If you pay attention to these cues, the humor, the body language, the subtle touches, you'll start to see a bigger picture. It's not just about what's on the surface. It's about the emotions and desires she's quietly sharing with you. And when you respond with understanding and respect, you're not just acknowledging her feelings. You're creating a space where real connection can grow. This is the moment where your awareness matters most. Pay attention to the subtleties. A touch on the shoulder during a casual conversation, a hug that lingers just a little longer than expected, or the way her legs gently brush against yours while you're sitting close. These aren't coincidences or meaningless gestures. They're silent signals, subtle ways she's expressing something deeper. But here's the key: respect is non-negotiable. This is not a time to jump to conclusions or misinterpret every touch as an open invitation. Instead, it's your opportunity to approach the situation with care, to truly see her and understand what she's expressing. Take a moment to reflect the next time you notice those gentle, seemingly unassuming touches, the brush of her hand on your arm, the fleeting closeness she allows during a hug. Ask yourself, is there something more behind these actions? Often, beneath these quiet moments lies an unspoken realm of emotions waiting to be explored. But tread thoughtfully. A woman seeking affection after a long period without it also seeks something much deeper, a sense of safety, understanding, and genuine connection, when words start to speak more than actions. When a woman hasn't experienced intimacy in a while, you'll notice something interesting, not just in how she acts, but in how she speaks. Conversations that were once lighthearted or casual may suddenly take a turn toward the personal, touching on topics she once avoided or skimmed over. Her words become a window into her inner world, revealing unfulfilled desires and a longing for deeper connection. This is where your listening skills are put to the test. I remember a conversation I had with my friend Isabel. She shared how, after months of being single and feeling disconnected, her discussions with close friends began to shift. I didn't even realize I was doing it at first, she said, but I found myself talking more about my past relationships, about how much I missed being close to someone. That vulnerability she described, the way her words carried a weight they didn't have before, wasn't just idle chatter. It was her way of expressing a yearning for connection, even if she didn't fully realize it herself. Think about this. A woman might casually mention her love life, or the lack of it, in conversation. She might say something like, "I honestly don't even remember what it feels like to share my life with someone," accompanied by a bittersweet smile. Or she could talk about how much she's grown since her last relationship, dropping hints about the void that growth has left behind. These comments, while subtle, often carry a deeper message. She's letting you glimpse her emotions, her loneliness, and the unspoken weight of wanting more. Research into emotional communication has shown that when people feel lonely or in need of connection, they often begin to share more about themselves as a way to bridge that gap. When a woman opens up about these topics, it's rarely random. It's a sign she's searching for a safe space, a person she can trust to truly listen and understand. And if she's confiding in you, it's a clear indication that she sees you as someone capable of offering that safety and emotional depth. What's fascinating is how these conversations often begin so innocently. You could be talking about relationships in general, or what it means to feel truly connected with someone. Then, out of nowhere, the conversation takes a turn. She begins to share personal stories, memories, or even frustrations about feeling lonely or disconnected. It's easy to dismiss these moments as mere venting, but don't. Behind her words is a quiet invitation to see her as she truly is, a person craving connection, someone opening a door to her heart and hoping you'll notice. The power of listening. This is where you have the chance to set yourself apart. Most people rush to respond or offer advice, but that's not what she needs. What she's looking for is someone who will truly listen. So, when she starts to open up, don't interrupt her or try to fix her feelings. Just be present. Let her know, through your attention and your empathy, that her words matter. By doing so, you create a space where she feels seen, heard, and valued. And that is the foundation for any deeper connection to flourish. Don't underestimate the power of these personal conversations. When a woman shares her thoughts and feelings, it's a moment of trust. It's her way of inviting you to understand her on a deeper level, to see beyond the surface and into her heart. If you respond with genuine care, you'll not only strengthen your bond with her, but also create an environment where she feels safe to be her most authentic self. A quick note, Before we continue, if this resonates with you and you feel like you're learning something valuable, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Your support allows me to keep sharing insights that help strengthen connections and deepen relationships. And trust me, there's more to come. Stick around until the end of the video, because I'll be sharing a final piece of advice that could transform the way you see these signs, and, potentially, the way you approach your relationships. Also, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love to hear from you and see how far our community is reaching. Let's dive into number 5, the jealousy in silence. Jealousy doesn't always arrive with fireworks and drama. Sometimes it whispers through the quietest gestures. Women often express this emotion in ways so subtle, so understated, that you might overlook it entirely. But when a woman hasn't experienced intimacy in a long time, these silent hints of jealousy start to surface. Small, almost imperceptible signals that speak volumes about what's happening in her heart. This isn't the kind of jealousy driven by ego or control. It's something much deeper. It stems from a longing, a hope that she could be the person at the center of your attention. Picture this. You casually mention another woman in a group conversation, maybe a coworker, a friend, or even someone you met recently. Now watch her closely. Does she fall silent for just a fraction longer than usual? Does her tone change slightly when she responds? Or does she crack a joke that feels just a little too lighthearted, almost forced? These subtle reactions aren't random. They're quiet echoes of an inner conflict. Her way of saying, "I wish I were the one you were talking about." This reminds me of Carolina, a college friend who was always the calm, easygoing one in our group. She never made a fuss about anything, always had a smile, and seemed content. But things shifted when I started dating someone new. Carolina didn't come out and say anything overt, but her demeanor began to change. Whenever I mentioned my girlfriend, she'd respond faster than usual, often with a sarcastic comment like, "Well, some people just hit the jackpot, don't they?" At the time, I didn't understand what was happening. I dismissed it as friendly banter. But looking back, I see it clearly now. Those small, consistent remarks were her way of expressing something she couldn't say outright. This kind of silent jealousy often comes from women who haven't felt physical or emotional closeness for a while. It's not about possessiveness or anger. It's a quiet attempt to protect a potential connection they value deeply. Pay attention to how her mood shifts around other women you mention or interact with. What's fascinating is that her jealousy doesn't always come across as negative. In fact, it can sometimes be playful or endearing, like when she teases you with a sarcastic comment or throws out a lighthearted question that's more loaded than it seems. But beneath that laughter, there's often a subtle hint of vulnerability, a quiet fear that she might lose her chance with you. It's not about competition or conflict. It's about her desire to feel seen and valued. Psychology research has revealed that jealousy, when expressed healthily, is often a sign of care and attraction. It's an emotional signal that tells us, "This person matters to me, and I want to protect our connection." The next time you're with a woman you care about, pay attention to those fleeting moments. A pause in the conversation, the way her smile falters for just a second, or a comment disguised as a joke but laced with meaning. These small signs are her way of opening up, of showing you that she hopes to matter to you in a way no one else does. The key is to respond with patience and sensitivity. Don't rush to address it directly or make a big move. Instead, show her through your actions that she already holds a special place in your life. What she truly desires isn't a battle for attention, but a deeper connection, one built on trust and understanding. Invitations to spend time alone. Sometimes, a woman's actions speak louder than words. Her desire for closeness becomes evident when she seeks moments alone with you, moments where intimacy can blossom naturally. I've seen it happen time and again. After a long time without intimacy, a woman might not express her feelings outright, but her actions will subtly guide the way. I remember this happening to me after I'd been single for a while. Instead of planning group outings or casual meetups with friends, I found myself suggesting quieter, more intimate plans, like a dinner at home, a movie night, or a simple walk together. I wasn't always aware of it at the time, but looking back, I realized these were intentional efforts to create opportunities for deeper connection. When a woman invites you to spend time alone with her, it's not just about passing the time or having fun. She's creating a space, an environment where emotional and even physical intimacy can develop, without distractions or interruptions. Think about it. In a group setting, there's noise, competition for attention, and limited opportunities for genuine closeness. But when it's just the two of you, everything changes. There's room for vulnerability, for those shared moments that allow you to truly see each other. These private moments are incredibly telling. They're her way of saying, I want to get to know you better, to see if there's something here that goes beyond friendship. Whether it's a quiet dinner, a walk under the stars, or simply sitting together and talking, these invitations aren't just about the activity. They're about the connection she hopes to build with you. So, the next time she suggests spending time together, don't underestimate the significance of her request. It's her way of testing the waters, of seeing if the spark she feels could grow into something more. And if you're interested, these moments are your chance to show her that you feel the same. At first, the invitation might seem innocent, nothing more than a simple suggestion to spend time together. But if you're paying attention, you'll realize there's something deeper beneath the surface. I've been in situations like this before, where that innocent ask filled me with both excitement and curiosity. On one hand, I was eager to see how the other person would act in a more intimate, one-on-one setting, without the usual distractions or the noise of a group. On the other hand, there was this nagging sense that perhaps, just maybe, this was a quiet way of exploring whether there was mutual interest, a desire for something more beyond the typical interactions. When we've been separated from someone for a while, or when we've felt the weight of emotional distance, the need for genuine connection becomes undeniable, and that desire to get closer, whether for a deeper conversation, to feel their presence, or just to share an unspoken moment, starts to rise to the surface. It's in those rare, spontaneous moments that intimacy grows. Maybe it's a conversation that suddenly takes a personal turn, or perhaps it's a shared laugh that cuts through the tension and creates an effortless connection. It's not always about physical proximity. Sometimes, it's the way the atmosphere shifts. When we're alone with someone, the energy between us changes, and we find ourselves lingering in the silence a little longer, savoring those quiet exchanges that carry more weight than words. If you ever find yourself in a situation where a woman starts suggesting plans for just the two of you, pay close attention. This isn't just about spending time together. This is an invitation to explore whether there's something deeper, something that extends beyond the surface level. She's testing the waters, seeing if there's room for something more intimate to bloom. And even more crucially, pay attention to the dynamic when you're alone together. Sometimes it's not about what's being said at all. It's about how things shift in the absence of distractions. in that shared space where you both can just be. In those quiet moments, real connection happens. There's no need for grand gestures or immediate answers. Sometimes, just being present with each other, allowing the silence to speak for itself, is more meaningful than anything you could say aloud. If she asks you to spend time alone, know this: she's opening a door. It's subtle, but it's powerful. If you're able to understand the depth of her invitation, you might just find yourself stepping into something much more profound, something that goes beyond casual encounters and into the realm of something real. Seventh, the flirting becomes constant. Flirting can be playful and fun, but when it becomes constant, when it starts to change the energy of every conversation, it's a sign that something more is at play. This is especially true for women who haven't felt that close emotional or physical connection in a while. Suddenly, the playful smiles and light-hearted glances evolve into something deeper, more charged. Every comment, every interaction feels like a part of an ongoing dance, and you can't help but feel that undeniable energy simmering beneath the surface. I've seen this happen firsthand. When a woman starts to feel desire, whether she acknowledges it or not, flirting becomes a subtle way to gauge your reaction. It's not something she plans out, but it's a natural shift in how the two of you communicate. The tone of her jokes changes, her words start to hold more than one meaning, and those lingering glances become loaded with possibility. The flirtation shifts from innocent banter to a game that's filled with unspoken tension. This kind of flirting isn't forced. It's not overly aggressive. It's like a dance, a rhythm between the two of you, where the steps are light but deliberate. You may notice that her comments start to edge closer to teasing, or that her laughter sounds a little more intense when you say something bolder. She might toss out a playful jab, pushing the boundaries just a little further, or laugh a little too hard at your jokes. In these moments, it's not just about the words, it's about how she's making you aware of her interest without saying it directly. I remember when I started flirting with someone I liked, after a period of being emotionally distant. It wasn't intentional, but I could feel myself drawing closer, pushing the limits of what was acceptable and what wasn't. Every exchange became more charged, like an unspoken promise that something more could happen. The flirtation was constant, almost like a game where both of us were waiting for the next move, but neither of us was ready to make it. It wasn't just about the moment, it was about testing the waters to see if the connection could move beyond the casual. Psychologists who study the art of seduction have found that constant flirting can be a subtle way of expressing interest, especially when someone hasn't experienced physical or emotional intimacy in a while. For women, it's often an indirect way of saying, "I'm interested in you, but I'm not sure if you feel the same way." It's a way of testing the waters, pushing the boundaries just enough to see if the other person will match the energy. Over time, this ongoing flirtation can evolve into something more, something real. But it takes patience. The goal isn't to rush things, it's to keep the connection alive, to let it grow in its own time. It's fascinating how this game of constant flirting can unfold over weeks or even months without either of you fully crossing the line. It's like two people locked in a dance, playful, teasing, and filled with tension that quietly builds with each interaction. The excitement isn't in grand gestures, but in the subtle, electric moments shared between you. Every conversation, every glance, seems to carry a weight that's impossible to ignore, as if something is always just beneath the surface, waiting to be revealed. But here's the thing, understanding what's happening is key. If she's constantly flirting with you, it's not just about playful banter or passing time. There's a deeper reason behind it. She's creating a spark, keeping the connection alive, and quietly letting you know she's interested, without ever having to say it out loud. And the best part? It's an invitation to explore what could be more, without the pressure of rushing into anything too soon. How do you know if her flirting is more than just fun? Start paying attention to the little things. Does this playful interaction only happen with you? Or does it seem like it's a pattern she follows whenever you're together? Are the jokes always light and teasing, yet laden with a little extra meaning? Do you feel like there's emotional weight behind every casual comment, making every conversation feel just a little bit deeper than usual? These are the signs that she's playing the game, one that's more than just about fun, but about seeing if you'll notice the unspoken message she's sending. In this dance of constant flirting, timing is everything. You can't just rush ahead. You have to know when to take the next step. If she's been without intimacy for a while, it's likely that every conversation with you is her way of testing the waters, seeing if you're ready to play along. And patience. It's crucial. This isn't about forcing anything. It's about letting the chemistry unfold naturally, giving both of you the space to enjoy the growing connection. So when you find yourself swept up in that game of jokes, playful teasing, double meanings, and knowing glances, take a moment to reflect. Realize that this isn't just idle fun. It's a subtle invitation. She's waiting to see if you'll pick up on the message, if you'll follow her lead, and if you're open to exploring what could be something more. What she's really doing is telling you that she's ready for something deeper, but she wants you to be the one to discover it on your own, at your own pace. In the end, it all comes down to your ability to see what isn't being said in words. The signs that a woman gives when she's been without intimacy for a while are not some kind of impenetrable riddle. They're actually glimpses into her emotions, desires, and needs that are simply waiting to be understood. And if you're truly present, you can begin to decode these subtle signals, not just for the sake of attraction, but to connect on a more authentic, meaningful level. What we've uncovered today is so much more than just a guide to reading subtle signs. This is about understanding how to approach intimacy from a place of authenticity and respect. Behind every glance, every gesture, every word unspoken, there's a deeper story, a story that reveals her longing to be seen, heard, and maybe even loved. When we learn to truly listen, to read between the lines, we start connecting in ways that go beyond the surface. I'm Celia, and I want this channel to be a space where wisdom and self-reflection come together. Here, we dive into not just intimacy, but how to enrich every part of our lives, from the way we understand each other to how we grow together. Because every small shift we make in our own lives has the power to transform our relationships and, ultimately, the lives of those around us. If this is your first time visiting, I'd love for you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the next insightful topic. If you've made it this far, I want to acknowledge your commitment to growth and understanding. That in itself is a step toward creating meaningful connections. To know who's ready for this journey, comment "I love wisdom" below and let me know where you're tuning in from. I'm excited to read your messages and connect with like-minded individuals who are on this path of self-discovery. Don't forget to share this video with someone who might need it. Sometimes, one small piece of wisdom can change everything. See you in the next video. And remember, the most important thing isn't what's being said, but what's left unsaid. Those are the moments that truly matter,